Hey everybody, welcome back to the kitchen. It is a beautiful, gorgeous, kind of cool, really sunny, which is magnificent, January afternoon. So today we're making definitely a company dish. Anytime something's kind of food, kind of, hold your pinky up when you eat it type thing, I call it a company dish. But I'm making this just for me and the hubs because it is fantastic. And I know that camera is like going in and out and doing weird things because of the sun. I'll turn it down here in just a minute. But we're making ossobucco. It is glorious. It's an Italian dish. It's very simple to make, but it is boom full of flavor. And if you've got good quality ingredients, loads of nutrition. I can't talk. It is Italian, if I didn't say that already. My understanding, I'm not Italian, obviously, with this accent. I'm not Italian. It's Ossobucco means bone with hole, is what I understand. So you use the beef shank, which is the beef leg. So it's got a big round bone in the middle, going down, full of marrow, very nutritious, and then lots of very succulent meat with some connective tissue that's got gelatin, collagen that's just going to kind of melt. Oh, good golly, it is divine. So I'm going to flip the camera down so it'll quit freaking in and out. I can see it doing it. And we'll get busy. This is super easy to put together. Cooks in the oven for a couple of hours. You can cook it on the stovetop, but I'm much more of a throw it in the oven and kind of leave it and forget it type person. So hold tight. Okay, so what we've got here is some beautiful, gorgeous beef shank that came from our cow, Roger. So you see, the bone with the hole, there's your marrow. You see all that connective tissue. When you slow cook this, it is just going to about dissolve like butter. It is going to be amazing. So what we want to do, we're going to sear the shank, get a nice kind of little brown crusty on it, and then make sort of a gravy. And now that I've got my hands super goopy, and then it goes in the oven, and that's it. So you're going to put some essence or, whatever your favorite kind of seasoning, if you like Slap Your Mama or Tony Chachere's, but y'all know how I feel about seasonings. Get the raw ingredients and make your own, and you know what's in it. And you don't have to worry about junk and fillers and garbage and extra stuff that you never intended to be in there when you do it that way. All right, so we're going to just make sure that's on there good, kind of press it into the meat, flip it over, and do it again. Now, the recipe says about 4 pounds of shank. The way my package is worked out, I have a little more than that, about a pound more than that, which, is fine. Your kitchen, your rules, do what you want to do. Mine may look a little bigger than yours may look just because I have more meat than the recipe calls for, but it's going to be fine. Some people will use oxtail for ossobucco, which the oxtail is literally what it says. It's the tail of the cow, and it's got, obviously not near as big as this, but it's a bone with meat and connective tissue, so you get the same result. It's just not as meaty, and it's not as big. So, but you can use what you've got or what you have access to. Okay, so what we're going to do is dredge this in a little flour, and then I've got a pan over here, and I'll get the camera moved around, with about a half a cup of lard in it. We'll dredge this, and then we'll sear it on a really hot flame. But I want to show you this real quick. So this beef flour, bet you've never heard of beef flour. This is a bag of flour left from when the hubs and I cooked some deer steak not too long ago. We dredged our steak in the flour. We had flour left, and y'all heard me bellyache and moan and talk about waste and all that. I don't like to waste stuff. Now, if I threw 3/4 of a cup of flour in the trash, is it going to put me in bankruptcy court? No. But why waste it? I mean, there's just no reason to. So anytime I have leftover flour or a breading, I will label it and throw it in my freezer. And then next time I need flour to season beef, there you go, got it. If I have flour that I've done fried chicken with, I've got a bag in there right now that's labeled, 3 quarters of a cup of flour in the trash. Is it going to put me in bankruptcy court? No. But you can use what you've got or what you have access to. Okay, so what we're going to do is dredge this in a little flour, and then I've got a pan over here, and I'll get the camera moved around, with about a half a cup of lard in it. chicken flour. So when I do fried chicken again, I'll pull that out and I'll use it and I'll add to it. It just, I don't see any point in wasting. So I keep using. All right. So we're going to turn these. And, you know, I didn't dump the whole bag in there because I may not need the whole bag. So I'll add as I need to add. If there's any left, it'll go back in the freezer. If there's not, I need more, I'll get more. You know, whatever needs to happen. The recipe says for a pound, about a quarter cup of flour will do it. Because you're not really making a batter. You're just putting a coating on it. But like I said, I have more than 4 pounds. Whoops. So this better be good because we're going to be eating it for a few days. And that's okay. We like it. Because here's the thing. Tonight, I'm going to make some mashed potatoes. And I've got some fresh broccoli I'm going to steam. That's like one of our most favorite side dishes is steamed fresh broccoli with loads of butter and some seasoned salt. You can't get any more simple than that, but it's super amazing. And this ossobuco served on top of a big pile of mashed potatoes is, I'm telling you, a little bite of heaven. And it's really pretty. I served this is going to work out just right, at one of my farm to table dinners. It makes a beautiful presentation if you're all into that. I don't necessarily, I mean, when I'm doing a dinner like that, I care, but at home, I don't really care. Just, is it nutritious? Does it taste good? Those are my requirements in that order. But anyway, it's just a really nice dish, you know, to serve company because it's different. Not everybody's heard of it or had it. It's not hard to do. You can have it in the oven while your guests are, you know, y'all are sitting around chit-chatting, whatever. So that's that. I'm letting my grease get really hot, my lard. I'm going to take what's left of my beef flour, zip my little plastic bag shut, and throw it back in the door of my freezer. And I'll have a little more flour for next time. Okay, so I've got my grease really hot, which is what you want. And then you're just going to set it down in here and just braise them for a couple of minutes. I turned my heat off a minute ago because I was running around doing stuff. Didn't want to burn my grease up, and I forgot to turn it back on like a dodo. But it's really hot. And we're just going to go probably 3 or 4 minutes on each side and set it to the side. And then we're going to add some trilogy with a little minced up carrot. Get that kind of softened, mix up a little bit of a sauce, pour that in there, let it cook, add the shank back, and in the oven it goes. And that's all there is to it. And y'all, it is good, good stuff. And when this finishes cooking and comes out of the oven, that sauce that we've made, kind of a gravy, it's not real thick, but it's got some thickness to it, is so rich and flavorful from the gelatin that breaks down out of the meat and the bones. I'm my mouth's watering just talking about it. It's kind of ridiculous, actually. But it's fantastic. Like I said, mashed potatoes is my favorite. You could serve it over mashed sweet potatoes, spaghetti squash, rice, pasta, any of that kind of stuff. So tonight, we're going to have it, like I mentioned, the mashed potatoes and the broccoli. And then I'll probably, because I've already been thinking about this, take some of the leftovers, pull the meat off the bone, get some good sourdough, put some of my fermented horseradish mustard on it, some roasted red peppers, the meat, the cheese, and make a grilled Ossobucco cheese sandwich. Doesn't that sound amazing? So it's like 2 meals. It's going to be more than 2 for us, but at least 2 meals out of one dish, which is always helpful. So I won't make y'all sit here and watch this. It's like watching paint dry and me keep babbling. But in a couple minutes, I'll flip it. I'll let you see what that looks like. And then when we move on, I've got one more piece over here I need to get in. And then when we move on to the next step, I'll show you what we're doing. I just took out the first batch. That's what you want it to look like. Nice and brown and golden colored. Obviously, it's not cooked. That was 4 minutes on each side. And I just wanted to show you this. I've got one piece left. I made a boo-boo in my own cooking method ideals, I guess. having only one piece of meat left in the pan, the oil around it tends to want to burn. So it's a whole lot better to spread your amount of meat out. If you have more meat than you can do in one batch, what I should have done was 3 pieces in that batch and 2 pieces in this one to kind of balance it, as opposed to doing 4 and then just doing 1. So this poor little lonely guy over here, I just need to kind of keep moving it around, because this oil that has nothing to play with is just getting hot and it's going to burn. And while lard has a really high smoke point, you just don't want to do that. And the flour that's in there that's come off the meat is going to burn, and then you're going to have a burn flavor, and you may even see some of the smoke that's coming up. I've turned the temperature down, and I'll just keep moving this piece of meat around. So actually, all I did was just create a little extra work for myself. Not the end of the world. Hadn't messed anything up. It's fine. But had I just split it out a little evenly, it would have made more sense. So I'll stop babbling about that. We'll let this finish. When I take this last piece out and just set it to the side, I'm going to add a 1/2 cup of Trilogy and a 1/2 cup of minced carrot. And I've just got mine all dumped together. And this is one of those things, I've shredded my carrots, I've chopped my carrots, I've had them in kind of chunks. This time I got it pretty small. It's a very flexible way of doing that, because it's going to be cooking in the oven for 2 hours. It's going to cook down to just about nothing and just become part of the gravy. So the size isn't as big a deal as it might be if you're roasting vegetables. Then you want very consistent sizes. Otherwise, your big chunks will be raw when your little chunks are done, or your little chunks will be burnt when your big chunks are done, or whatever. So you just want to watch that with certain things. But for this type of dish, where those vegetables, I can't talk today, are going to be in a gravy in the oven for a few hours. Dang, smells so good. They'll just cook down to virtually nothing, so it doesn't really matter that much. So I'll be right back. We got about a minute or so left, and we'll move on to the next step. Okay, we're back. I've got my grease turned down pretty low, and then here's my Trilogy. And look, you can tell the different color. This was fresh that I had just done, and this is what I have left in my refrigerator. It's all fine. It's all good. It's just when it sits in the refrigerator for a little longer, the color changes some. But there's nothing wrong with it. I've had Trilogy in my refrigerator for a couple of months, and it's fine. Okay, hopefully y'all can hear me over the splattery noise. But, ooh, and this smells good too. So all we're going to do here is just cook this down till it's soft, 2 or 3 minutes. And again, that'll go back to, if you chopped it a little bigger, you might want to cook it a little longer in this stage. But remember, 2 hours in the oven, it's gonna cook down pretty easily. I tell y'all, I was getting ready to make this video. This is something you'll probably never hear on a cooking tutorial recipe video thing. But I was sitting here getting ready and just getting my stuff out, and I looked out the window, and our big female cow, Nellie, and our bull, Archie, were up by the fence near the hay, staring at it like they're looking, longing for it or whatever, even though there's hay in the pasture. That's funny. I went on about my business. A few minutes later, I look up, and Archie is out of the pasture in our backyard. Not a good thing. So, some kind of way, either the fence didn't get latched back last time, which that's never happened, or Archie figured out how to flip the little chain off the hook. I don't know. He was out in the backyard, so it was a stop, drop, and roll moment. I had to call the hubs who was in the shop, and we went tearing out there, and I went walking out the pasture to get some feed to entice. I mean, it was a show. Should have been here with a camera. It would have been pretty comical. He's a big old bull, and he's sweet, but he's still a bull, and it freaks me out. But we got him back, no problem. And Hubs went back to what he was doing, and I came in here and started my video. Never a dull moment around here. Okay, I'm going to turn this down and let it keep kind of just cooking on real low, and then we're going to mix up our sauce. Okay, so this is going to be a part that might be a little bit weird to you, but the recipe calls for 2 tablespoons of ketchup. Now, you're like, ketchup? What the heck? There's no self-respecting Italian chef is going to use ketchup. And probably not. But I've got a very, very good quality, not super sweet ketchup that I'm using. You can use tomato paste, tomato sauce, diced tomatoes, but you only need a couple tablespoons. So several years ago, I was like, I'm tired of opening a can to get 2 tablespoons to put the rest in the freezer and, go through all that. I'm just going to use ketchup, and it works fine. I would not recommend using what I call a trash ketchup like Heinz or one of those brands because they're so flippin' full of sugar. It's disgusting. But do what you want to do. If you like that ketchup, go for it. Now, we need a half a cup of red wine, and I know, red wine served out of a plastic deli. How much better does it get? No, I had this at the restaurant. I didn't have any red wine at home, and I didn't want to buy a bottle just to have a half cup, so I just snagged a little from the restaurant. Then we need 2 cups of stock, and again, back to our homemade, see all the seasonings, onions, salt, pepper, garlic, everything in there. So we got 2 cups of that. We're going to add. And then a little bit of seasonings. So we need, let me get my other measuring spoon because that's wet and I don't want all my seasoning sticking to it. So we need a tablespoon of parsley. And a teaspoon each of thyme. Could have got that one out while I was doing it, huh? A teaspoon each of thyme. How about a teaspoon each of thyme and rosemary? I didn't finish that sentence. And then we need a little bit of lemon. You want a little lemon flavor. So you can use, but lemon juice is not what you're looking for because that's not going to give the punch and the brightness to the flavor that you want. So you can use either lemon essential oils, which I don't have any here. It's all at the restaurant. Half my life is up there. Or you can use lemon zest, which is what I'm going to do. So if you don't have a microplaner, I encourage you to get one. They're fantastic. They're super sharp, and they're used to zest lemons and limes. A little trick I learned a long time ago, they come with these little plastic covers like that, so that's how you store them. Well, if you take that off and turn it over like that, when you zest, you catch the zest down there. And so you just want to go across. You just want to get the outer layer. When it starts showing the white, you don't want to get that part because that's more bitter. It's that very outer layer that's got the oils in it, where the essential oils come from, and it's got all the super bright flavor. So you just kind of want to roll it around, looking for your yellow spots, and you just scraping them off. And we're going to do about a half a teaspoon, which, depending on the size of your lemon, it's probably going to be close to a lemon. And the thing about this, yep, that looks good. I can pop this lemon right back in the refrigerator. It's not going to hurt a thing. And then when I need actual lemon for a recipe, I've got the lemon. So see, look at that. Now, most of your zest is going to stick to the back of your microplane, and you just knock it off like that. And then you can knock it out of here, and it's so, God, it smells good. It's like spring. I'm ready for spring. I'm over winter. I just need to see some green outside. Okay, let me grab my whisk. Our onions, garlic, celery, our trilogy, and carrots are nice and cooked down. And then you could just stir this. I mean, it doesn't have to be whisked, but I just usually whisk it because it just gets it mixed up better. All right, so that's good. Now let me get my camera flipped around over here because we're going to be in the pot again. Okay, so I'd moved the pan off the stove just to have I don't know, it's easier for my camera back here. So this is our carrot and trilogy cooked down. Now we're going to take our shanks, and mine are going to be tucked tight in this pan. I've almost got too much. I set them down in here when they were in the frozen package. I was like, oh yeah, this will work. And then after messing with them, I'm like, dadgum, I'm gonna need a shoehorn to get these things in here. But look at that. That works. And when they cook, they're gonna shrink up a little bit. All right, so you just put your shank in there, and then you're gonna take your little gravy, juicy, wine, herby sauce and pour over the top. And then you see a lot of the stuff sticks. So I'm just going to get my little spatula and get everything out. I don't want to waste one single drop of herb or wine or sauce or whatever. Okay, now we're going to put a bay leaf. This is our last step. These are big old bay leaves, so I'm just going to put one down in here. If they were smaller, I'd put a couple on each side. Tuck that down in there, and this bad boy, we're going to put the lid on it. If you don't have a really, really well-fitting lid, then I would put tinfoil over it. You want to make sure and keep all the moisture, the steam, everything in here, because that's part of what cooks your meat and gets it soft. My lid fits super well, and it weighs about 400 pounds. So that is going to go in the oven on 325 for 2 hours, and then we are going to eat like kings. So when I pull it out of the oven, I'll show you what the final product looks like, but that is all there is to it. See how easy that is? Ossobucco. Fix it for your family, fix it for company, and blow their minds with your culinary skills. So we'll be back with a quick peek of the finished product. Okay, so here we go. Check this out. Boom. Does that look amazing or what? So I've got some garlic cream mashed potatoes. And I'm going to take a beautiful piece of ossobuco and set it right there, and then take some of this and put it on there. Look at that. I mean, if that doesn't make you drool, nothing will. I'm going to turn this down a little bit better. How about that? Y'all got to try this one. I'm going to throw a little broccoli on the side, and it's going to be perfection. So give it a shot and let me know what you think. I'll see you here on the next video.